Just excited to be here. Yesterday was controversy day, but today should be less controversial. Today should be much more lighter touch. But still, there's going to be some very deep things we're going to be talking. We'll be talking about some very deep things and kind of looking at some very deep things. In the theme for this year's Grace Impact has been built to last. So we've been looking at the way different things are built. We've been looking at the different ways in which we build things, the different aspects of building. We've looked at building ourselves. We've looked at building institutions. We've looked at building marriages. We've looked at some of the principles that run through all of these. Today, what I've been asked to address is in the area of businesses and careers. Now, this is an interesting angle to the build to last, because these are areas in which whatever we start with every intention of having them last as long as possible. Either by accident or by design, we intend to let things last in these areas. And what we're going to share today has to do with some of the insights I've gathered in the course of observing people that have succeeded in these fields, observing some of the struggles people have had in these fields, sharing some things from my own personal experiences, and just bringing to the fore some of the key areas, some of the key thinking, some of the key habits that are a necessity if we are to succeed and last in these areas. So I'll be assisted by my darling behind me there. She'll be helping me to go through the slides. So my sweet daughter, can we have the next slide? No. We've gone too far. Yeah, so there we go. Next slide, please. So before we start, a lot of the time I have people talking to me about wanting to be successful. And I ask, what does it mean to you to be successful? One thing I've found is that we define and describe success in different ways. What a success means to one person is completely different from what it means to somebody else. And indeed, in different areas of our lives, we have different types of successes. Some people want to be successful fathers as well as successful businessmen. They want to be successful friends as well as successful, what do you call them? Companions. Success is different based on the individual. Some individuals will rate some types of success higher than others. Some individuals will add more significance to some success types than others do. But whichever way you define success and whatever it means for you, first thing I'd like to talk to you about is the need to plan to succeed in whichever aspect of your life you consider important. See, success is not an accident. It doesn't just happen. And whichever way you choose to define it, you'll find that you are best served with a plan. Sometimes you fall into this trap of looking for an easy way to succeed. It's only natural. I mean, who wants to go through struggle if there's an easier way to get things done? It's only natural. We think of an easy way to succeed. But whether it be easy, be it challenging, be it impossible, whatever, you will always need to proceed with a plan, because success is not an accident. No. A lot of the time, particularly in Christian audiences or religious audiences, particularly Christian audiences, where there's this emphasis on testimonies and miracles and things that happen by the power of God, blah, blah, blah. We get to hear lots of testimonies and things on stages and pulpits that sometimes seem to suggest to us that some aspect of success is miraculous. But you often realize that a lot of the time, When you scratch the surface of this miracle, you see that underneath that miracle, there was actually a plan and a lot of hard work. A break happens and the outcome is achieved, and then the people think they had a miracle. But when you go back and you scratch that surface, you realize there was actually a lot of hard work behind it. There was a plan, there was a thinking. Christians like to look at the life of Jesus and draw a lot of parallels from it, draw a lot of inspirations from it. And they always like to say that when he hung on the cross, his last words were, "It is finished." And they say, what is it? It was his mission. The it referred to his goal, the reason why he came into this phase of existence to begin with. What you then realize is that this it had a beginning, had a process, had an end. You see, there was a plan to the it. But I like to point out to Christians that given the source from which Jesus came, God could have made sure that there was a hotel room available for his son to be born. He could easily have guaranteed that. They didn't have to end up in a manger somewhere, among animals, exposing a newborn baby to the risk of infection, exposing the mother who had just had a child to the risk of various bacteria and unhealthy antibodies and all of that. God could have guaranteed there was a room in a hotel or a very nice, comfortable place for his son to be born. But the it had a plan. And the part of that plan was that this son was to enter this phase of existence in a manger. It was part of a plan. So even though there was an it, under the it, there was a plan. And the other interesting insight I tend to draw from this thing about even the birth of Jesus and how he came into this life is that he came into this life as the most disadvantaged person in that time of existence. Among the Israelites at the time, or call them the Jews, or whatever you want to call them, there was no worse status than to be born a bastard, to be born without anyone knowing who your father really was. See, it's interesting. In Bible school, they ask you who was the father of Jesus, and they said Joseph. And I asked myself, wait a minute, that's not what I read. From what I read, if we want to be critical, they didn't know who the father was. Because yes, the Holy Spirit may have appeared to Mary and told Mary whatever he told Mary. But the people around, what they saw was a young girl getting pregnant before even her husband was identified. What they saw was a bastard birth. I've had conversations with Orthodox Jews who have told me straight in the face that they don't see why we Christians choose to believe in a bastard. That is what they call him. Not only was the man technically a bastard, he was born amongst animals. Unclean. That was an unclean place to be born. But this same disadvantaged beginning was part of a plan. So because a plan existed, along which the plan was to be worked, the disadvantageous beginning did not count for much. Because according to the plan, there was to be a progress from the disadvantageous beginning to a glorious end. If our God operates like that, why do we think that there's going to be a difference when it comes to us? Why do we think by some miracle we're going to have some shortcut and avoid pain, whatever? When I go through the biblical narrative, I never see anything meaningful that was done with a shortcut. Abram was asked to leave his place of origin, travel, go through all manner of things, have a change of name, you have a split from his own nephew, go through all kinds of challenges before he got anywhere near to becoming Abraham. Moses had to flee, walk across a desert, find himself in a situation where he had to marry some lady, work for the lady's father, understudy that lady before there was even the opportunity to see a burning bush. You see, when you follow the narrative, sometimes you think that these things happen within weeks of each other. No, there were lengths of time in between, there were years in between. I don't know what it is that is the most important for you. I don't know what it is that you value the most. But if you are to succeed in that aspect, that area of your life, you need to plan it, because it won't just happen. I wish it would. But from what I've observed, it doesn't just happen. Next thing I want us to think about is this thing about change. When they say change is the only constant in life, the advantage of having a plan is that when the circumstances around you change, your reaction to those circumstantial changes, your reaction to those changes in situations is governed by your plan. See, if you don't have a plan, the changes just knock you back and forth and you absolutely have no direction. Where you have a plan, the plan enables you to manage change in your life, because that's what the changes, they will happen. That's the only thing we can guarantee. Like they say, the only guarantee, the only constant in life is change. That's the only thing we can guarantee. But the plan helps you to manage change in your life. So what I'm hoping to do today is that by the time we're done, there'll be the makings of a plan in people's minds, and there'll be the commitment to do the work to make that plan a reality. Let's move on to the next 4 questions. There's 4 questions I find that guide strategic planning. Usually, it's funny when the word strategy is used. I find a lot of the time this word strategy is just a smoke screen. I had a line manager back in the day. When he tells you he's looking for a strategic thinker, what he actually means is that he's looking for someone who will agree with him. The day you disagree with him, you are no longer strategic. You don't understand strategy. If you have to be strategic, you have to agree with him. Needless to say, we didn't get on well, because a lot of the plans he came up with were absolute garbage. And you point out that garbage to him, and you're no longer strategic. For you to be strategic, you have to agree with me. But the entire aim of a strategy or a plan or whatever it is title they like to give things is to get you from a place where you are to a place where you want to be. That's it. And I find these 4 questions run through any strategic plan you're going to come across, any strategic process you're going to come across. You find these 4 elements in there. The very first question is, where am I now? See, that situational analysis. If it's something as simple as weight loss, for instance, you have to start from knowing your starting point. Where am I now? How much do I weigh now? So if right now I weigh 135 kg, that's what I have to be aware of. I'm starting from 135 kg. If it's about what other things we want, I mean, I don't want to get too technical. Let's talk about even when I want to clean a room, for instance. Yeah, where am I now? Where I'm now is the room is untidy. Maybe there's stuff on the floor that shouldn't be there. There's stuff hanging off the wall that shouldn't be there. There's furniture that's been turned in a way it shouldn't be turned. But that is where I'm starting from. Because unless I determine my starting point, I won't know what progress I have made. You see the interesting thing? Unless I know where I'm starting from, I won't know what progress I have made. The next question is, where do I want to be? Once I've determined where I'm starting from, where I am now, The question is, where do I want to be? If it's weight loss, if I'm 135 kg now, where do I want to be? I want to be what? 90 kg? 60 kg? I mean, there's no way in 100 years I'm going to be as slim as you, my darling. But no, I don't think I can get anywhere near you. I might be getting close to Bishop. Maybe I want to get close to Bishop. But if I'm at 135 kg and my aim is I want to get to 100 kg, then straight away I know I have to lose 35 kg. You see? So that is a formation in my mind. I have to lose 35 kg to get to where I want to get to. In analogy of an untidy room, if it's an untidy room I'm starting with, I want to end up in a situation where the room is properly organized and then my movement and utilization of that room is maximized. That is where I want to be. I want all the furniture in the right place. I want all the clothing in the right place. I want all the children's toys packed away. I want the room to be nice and clean. Where do I want to be? Where am I going? Because every strategy has an aim. Every plan has a goal. See, if you strategize without any endpoint, you are merely carrying out an activity of very, very little benefit. Because what is the endpoint? You have to determine where do I want to be? What is the aim of the strategy? What am I working towards? The third question you find, and this is the action question, is how do I get there? To go from 135 kg to 100 kg, I need to lose 35 kg. Now, how do I lose 35 kg? Do I have to change my diet? Do I have to get more active? Do I have to change the times at which I eat? Do I have to change certain habits I've built up over time? How do I get from 135 kg to the 100 kg I want to get to? If my goal is to lose 35 kg and I'm thinking about how to get there, key element in that reasoning is to ask myself, what do I do that prevents me from getting to my goal? Because that is often as every bit as important as how I intend to get there. If my aim is to lose 35 kg and I say I'm going to go on a dieting program, so I put myself on a dieting program, but I've still got a snacking habit. So I'll be very disciplined with my diet from 8 o'clock in the morning till about 9 o'clock in the evening. Then 11 p.m. at night, just before I go to bed, I have a craving. And then I'm going to dash down to the children's sweet cupboard and throw in a few chocolates and a few biscuits and wash it down with some quick drink. And then I go back to bed. Will I lose that 35 kg? We spoke about the power of habit. I think 2 days ago in my session, I hammered a lot about the power of habit. This is where habits are important. Because like I said, habit is stronger than desire. My desire is to shed 35 kg. But if I have the habits of someone who is 135 kg, there's no way I'm getting to 100 kg unless I change the habits I've formed. Because 9 times out of 10, the way I got to 135 kg in the first place is because of the habits I formed. See the late night snacking? That's how I got there in the first place. So if I'm to move from where I am to where I need to be, a key change that is required is a change in habits. What do I do daily? What is my systematic way of operation? What do I do daily? Even without thinking about it, what do I do daily? How do I get there? What is there in my daily routine? See, I spoke about the importance of a daily routine. Well, I said that the secret to the attainment of your goal is in your daily routine. It's interesting. Years ago, there was this story, Alice in Wonderland. I believe there was a story called Alice in Wonderland. Gen Z might not have any idea. Oh, you do? You do know? Oh, do you? Oh, there you go. See, Gen Z keep proving me wrong every time. Yeah. Oh, what? Ah, brilliant, brilliant. So you remember somewhere in that story, Alice was on a journey and she was looking for directions. And then she came across a Cheshire cat. You remember that when she came across a cat? And then she asked the cat, how do I get to this particular destination? And then the cat asked her, where exactly do you want to go? Alice said, I'm not too sure. And what did the cat say? In that case, any route will take you there. Any route will take you there. Yeah. If you don't know where you're going, any route will take you there. It may take you, any route will take you nowhere. See, but the rationale, what I learned from that story was the importance of a definite destination. If you came across me by the side of the beach and I'm busy digging a hole, I've got a shovel, I'm busy digging a hole in the soft sand of the beach, I'm digging a hole, and you ask, man, why are you digging? I said, I don't know, I'm just digging. Keep digging, keep digging, keep digging. Is there a reason? What are you looking for something? No, I'm just digging. Keep digging, keep digging, keep digging. You'll be looking at me and wondering, maybe he's digging for a reason. Maybe there's something in there that he's seen that I haven't seen. And sometimes human curiosity will have you keep watching me, and I'll keep digging and keep digging and keep digging and keep digging. When I've suddenly decided I've had enough of this pointless activity, I'll stop digging, pick up my shovel, go wherever I came from. But I want you to observe one curious thing. You, the one who was watching me dig pointlessly, have also just wasted your time. See? You've wasted your time watching me. I wasn't going anywhere. I was just digging for the sheer fun of it. Your curiosity drew me to my action, drew yourself to my action, and you just wasted your time. Now let's see if Gen Z are going to prove me wrong this time. Years ago, there was a movie called Forrest Gump. Any one of you watch Forrest Gump? See, none of you watch for once I've beaten Gen Z for once. There was a movie called Forrest Gump. Now, Forrest Gump was an interesting character. There was a time in his life when there was this lady he loved very much. The lady turned up in his life, and then the lady ran off one early dawn. The lady just got in a taxi and drove away. So Forrest was so upset, sat down thinking, and just to deal with his disappointment and his broken heart, Forrest got up and started to run. He just started running. Yeah. And he was running and running and running. And then suddenly some news reporter caught up with him and said, oh, hang on, people. For a couple of days now, there's this guy who just keeps running. You know, let's just find out why this guy's running. So the journalist runs after him and asks him, man, where are you going to, man? Forrest said, I'm just running. Yeah. The journalist wouldn't understand why someone would just be running. So journalist keeps following him. And then another journalist stands up. And then because Forrest was on the news, some people said, oh, the sight of a man running gives people hope. And it's encouraging. So next thing you knew, there were a whole group of people running behind Forrest, and they were all just running. Yeah, and they were all just running. It's a whole group of people following him, TV cameras, everything. And at a point, Forrest decided to just stop running. So he stopped running. And then everyone around him were waiting. They thought he was going to say something important, something life-changing, something dynamic. They were waiting to hear. Forrest said, I'm tired. I think I want to go home now. He just walks off. And everyone was like, what are we going to do now? We've been running after this guy for God knows how long. What are we going to do now? What are we going to do now? The man been running. He just stopped running. I'm tired. I'm going to just go some. What are we going to do now? Your lesson is this. Anything or anyone you follow has to have a goal. You follow people in this life who ain't going nowhere, that's exactly where you're going to end up. I don't know why I feel led to share this, but it's so very important. Along this journey, there'll be people who will influence us. There'll be people who will attempt to drag us along. There'll be people who will attempt to have us buy into certain things they're doing, want us to support them, get involved. Before you start, make sure you know exactly where these people are going. Because if you're not careful, you're going to follow them and they ain't going nowhere. Not only are they going nowhere, they take you with them. Am I talking to somebody? Years ago, I was on a bus with my then girlfriend. You see, I took her somewhere. I ended up marrying her. See, so I wasn't going nowhere. I did marry her. But then she was my girlfriend. Yeah. And we were on a bus. And there was this young man with a young girl sat next to him. And there was another young man in the bus. And this young man on the bus was provoking this other guy. We're exchanging insults and everything. The bus kept going from stop to stop to stop. The bus gets to a stop that is in front of a park, like a dark park area. And then this guy who's doing the provoking of this young man, he hits the young man and then gets off the bus. Now, this other young man is so angry, he gets up and he wants to follow this guy because he wants to go and fight him because he's been hit. He wants to go and fight him. As that guy gets off his seat, I knock him back in his seat. Now, that young man looks at me with surprise. Because as all the provocation had been going on, I'd been standing there. I'd been standing there just watching them. You know, just do your thing. You know what London is like. Everybody minds their business. You know, just do your thing. But when he got up in an attempt to follow this other guy, I knocked him back in his seat. So then he looked at me with some surprise anger, like, you know, who are you? Why are you even getting involved? I didn't say much. I just gave him one sentence. I said, there are some people in this world who are going nowhere with their lives. And if you're not careful, they'll take you with them. That's all I told the young man. He understood what I told him, and he just sat down like that. I don't know where that guy is now, but I really hope he took that lesson with him. If he had followed that other guy off the bus, 10 to 1 says that other guy had a knife or something, he would have been a dead person in seconds. It's interesting why I feel led to share this, but I think I'm talking to somebody. If you don't have your plan, if you don't have your goal, you get drawn into other people's plans. And sometimes those people are going nowhere. Let's move on. The fourth question is, am I getting there? See, that's the analysis question. So I started from 135 kg. I wanted to get to 100 kg. Am I getting there? If after a month I check my weight and I'm at 125 kg, I know I'm heading towards my goal. If after a month I check my weight and I'm at 138 kg, I know I'm going away from my goal. And so then the question is what I'm doing working? Am I getting there? Am I getting to where I want to get? Is it taking me towards my goal, or is it taking me the other way around? Interestingly, there was a time I was studying. I think that was when I was doing one of my courses, and I was studying at night. I had to study at night because I was working in the day, and I was thinking that because I feel so hungry at night, I needed to eat something healthy. I needed something healthy to be eaten at night, so at least I don't pack on weight and my health doesn't fall apart. I went to the shop at the time and there was this cereal being advertised. I don't want to mention the name, but it was particular type of cereal. And I bought the cereal thinking, oh, this if it's a cereal, it's got to be good. Yeah, it's got to be good. So I bought the cereal. And every night, without fail, consistently. See, the funny schedule I had at the time was because it was so tough, working steady. It wasn't a joke. When I came back from work, I'd sit in my steady chair, the chair in which I do my studying, put my steady stuff around me, and I'd get myself, I'll doze off, I'll sleep, I'll doze off till, sometime when the family had gone upstairs and everything, whole place was quiet. Wake up about 11, and then that's when I intend to start my study because it's all quiet. And at that 11 p.m. when I wake up, I'll have the cereal and then start my studying. Did that for some 2 weeks. My trousers wouldn't fit. Hang on, that can't be right. I'm having a healthy cereal. That can't be right. Something must be wrong somewhere. That can't be right. I decided to check the content of the cereal I was having. I understood why my trousers wouldn't fit. See, am I getting there? Am I getting to where I want to get to? Oh, that cereal was nice. It was tasty. It was nice. It was absolutely great. But was it taking me where I wanted to go? Am I getting there? The reason why certain habits stick to us is because we enjoy them. But it's not about the enjoying of it. It's about where the habit is taking us. It's nice to enjoy things. I'm not saying I don't believe in the kind of religion stroke Christianity where everything is deprivation and hardship and no. I don't believe in it. No. But the question is, where is it taking me to? That habit, that thing I'm enjoying. Where is it taking me to? Because if something I enjoy is not taking me to where I want to go to, it's in my best interest to stop that enjoyment. It's nice, but it's not helping me. Am I talking to somebody? It is nice, but it is not helping me. This is the importance of a goal. If I don't have a goal, I will not put myself in a position where I analyze the impact of the cereal on my health. If we start anything without a goal, we're not in a position where we actually decide what is beneficial to us or what is not beneficial to us. See, the Apostle Paul, when he went out to the so-called Gentiles, his aim was to bring men to Christ. That was his goal. So he said, all things are lawful unto me. I can do all things, but not all things are beneficial. He said, I can eat food offered to idols, but if that food will offend the faith of a brother, I'll let it go. See, I can do all things, he said. All things are lawful unto me, but not all things are expedient. It might be nice, but always think of your goal. Always think of where it is you're going. Think of it. Think of what target you've set yourself, and ask yourself, does this take me towards my target, or does this take me away from my target? Not too long ago, I was having a conversation with one of my guys, one of my friends, and we're talking about diet, food, the kind of stuff we eat, blah, 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 blah. In the course of the conversation, I had an interesting insight. I said to him, man, you know what I'm thinking? I'm beginning to realize that when we have an edge, when we have what we call a craving, when we have what we call a desire, I think the question we should ask ourselves is, what are we feeding? Are we feeding sickness or are we feeding health? See, when I open the cupboard and there's golden tree chocolate there, Gen Z, do you know golden tree chocolate? Look, I love gold. If you leave me with golden tree chocolate, I'll finish a box in front of you without breaking sweat. But at a time when I want to lose weight, when I open the cupboard and there's golden tree there and there's pumpkin seed to the other side, see, what am I feeding? Am I feeding health or am I feeding disease? It takes time to form habits. It takes time to change them. But the ultimate guide should be our goal, the target we've set for ourselves, where we intend to go. Can I have the next slide, please? So let's talk about careers. Yeah? Next slide, please. It's funny. We're supposed to talk about jobs and careers and businesses. And I've been talking about habits and all that kind of stuff. It all comes together. Trust me, always does. But let's talk about careers. Yeah? The difference between a career and a job. For most people, a job is what you do to earn money. A career is what you plan to do or what you did with your working life. You see, for most people, we take jobs as they come along and we think in retrospect and say we had a career. It's interesting when you go to some of these retirement parties or even sometimes funerals and they talk about the man's career. And you see how disjointed some of the jobs are. You think, is this a career? No, man. No. The man took jobs as they came along. In retrospect, some people might describe it as a career, but that is not what a career is. A career is what you plan to do with your working life. See my sweet daughter in the corner with her glasses and hair. See, she wants to be a dentist. See? So she's taking the time to learn, to get into a course that takes her towards dentistry. After that course, she's going to look for a job in dentistry. She gets into dentistry, she's going to keep climbing and climbing. I don't know how far she's going to go, but I hope she's still around when I begin to lose my teeth. But she's going to keep going and going down that path, you see. And then when we look at her in retrospect, we'll say she has a career because we'll see a consistency between the choice of jobs she took. That's what a career is. Planned series of progressions. Now, let's be honest. Not everyone has a career. And there's nothing wrong with that. No. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Yeah? Absolutely nothing wrong with taking a job after job after job after job. In fact, one of my wealthiest friends now, right, made his breakthrough when he went into scrap metal. Before that, he was into all kinds of things. We sat in class and studied together. We qualified together. Today, he deals in scrap metal and is absolutely loaded. So not everyone has a career. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah? But if you want me to talk to you about careers, we need to define what a career is before we go any further. So when it's a case of deciding a progression and determining what skill that progression requires, and then going to acquire that skill, be it through academic study, be it through apprenticeship, be it through association, but acquiring that skill and then executing that skill, we're talking career. Sometimes it doesn't necessarily go in a straight line. Sometimes it zigs and zags. But you'll see the progression. Why do I feel the need to stress this difference between a career and a job? Jobs are necessary, yeah, for most of us, especially in this time of our existence. For most of us, jobs are necessary. I hear a lot of these entrepreneurs talk about wanting to go into entrepreneurship, and across social media, they're pushing this thing about entrepreneurship. You want to be your own boss. You don't want to work for no one. You got to be in charge of your own destiny. You want to control your time. They throw these big words at us all over the place, blah, 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 blah. But the fact is, that doesn't work for all of us. For most of us, for the average Joe, jobs are necessary. But if we approach a job with the idea that either we're going to make it into a career or we're going to make it a stepping stone for a career, then we're setting ourselves towards a goal. Nothing wrong with taking a job. No, you need them. But if the aim is to have a career, more to the point, a successful, lasting career, there has to be a more structured thought process towards the job selection. If one wants to be a doctor, there's no point in going through medical school and then coming out and looking for a job in construction. You've diverted your course. But when we flip the coin, a job in construction can actually get you into making the money required to do the registration to get you into medical school. You see the difference? In one case, we're starting with an objective in mind. In another case, we're starting, getting to a point and asking ourselves, why are we even here? I feel this distinction is important for a number of reasons. The first key reason is harsh reality. When I listen to quite a lot of seminars, quite a lot of our Christian brothers and sisters who come and teach us lots of things, blah, blah, blah. The assumption you sometimes walk away with is that everyone is supposed to succeed along a particular pattern. But the harsh reality of life is that is not the case. It doesn't happen. Doesn't happen. In every field of endeavor where you have huge successes, you also find huge failures. Some guy will set out to be a footballer, get to the top of the career, become a star and millions and whatever. But for every football star you see there are hundreds who never made it past the first selection stage anyway. So not everyone has that kind of straight progressive path. Along the line, people have to make diversions. Along the line, people have to make changes. 2 days ago, we spoke about adaptability and why adaptability is a secret to growth. You see, if you wanted to be a footballer and you started out, you had all the talent, you had all the ability, you started out, and 2 years into the career, you tear your Achilles tendon. That's the end of your career, technically. Yeah, that tendon goes. But then what next? You're going to stop progressing because you tore your tendon? No. That is where the adaptability comes in. So my point is this. It's great to start with a plan. But as the plan progresses, learn to adapt when you need to. I can't tell you how many times I've come across situations where people run into situations where some things have occurred or something has occurred that makes it absolutely impossible to progress further. But just because they believe they started out with this plan and someone convince them that this was a way for them to go. A couple of times when I came across situations like that, what the guys told me was that someone had prophesied with the word of knowledge that they were supposed to be in this particular field. So, in spite of the barrier in front of them, they either keep wasting energy pushing at the barrier, or they spend time waiting for the barrier to resolve itself. And before you know it, time has run out, the scales fall from their eyes, and they end up being frustrated people. The school is good, but you make adaptations as you go along. Am I talking to someone? Can I have the next slide, please? So, when I observe successful careers, people who succeeded in their careers, right? I notice certain trends in them. Like I started by saying, there's no one formula for success. Success is different thing to different people, right? No one formula. If I want to be a chef, my strategy for success will differ from someone who wants to be a surgeon. If I want to be a builder, my formula for success will differ from someone who wants to be a teacher, for instance. But you pick these trends up when you observe successful careers. What you will observe is that they always have a direction. You see, we've been talking about goals. You find that there's a direction, but not all of them want perfection. And this is a key when I spoke about adaptability. See, you choose a general direction. This is where I want to end up. But then you do so with awareness that for 90% of us, the path will not be perfect. It won't be a straightforward line. I was talking to a group of psychologists. You see, in spite of all what I've got going on, believe it or not, I've gone and joined the board of another national charity, as if I didn't have enough going on. I've got to join the board of another national charity, and these guys are in the field of mental health, right? And I was talking to a group of psychologists who would come in there. The interesting point I made was that in one of my research projects that I set myself, I came across a very interesting fact. Do we all know Albert Einstein? Albert Einstein? Yeah? Even Gen Z know Albert Einstein. Yeah, great scientist, wasn't he? How many of us know he was autistic? How many of us know that for the first 20 years of his life, he was considered too stupid to succeed in education? His own lecturers told him to go and work, find himself some job somewhere because he was too dumb to progress. The man ended up in a post office sorting mail. But in that post office was where he released that theory of relativity, in that post office. See, for everything everyone told him, he knew in his heart of hearts where he wanted to go. See, so he had to adapt. But working in a post office sorting mail gave him the peace and quiet and mental space to do the thinking he needed to do. It got him where he wanted to go. It's not about what they say. It's not about the circumstances they try to create around you. It's not about the challenges they try to build around you. It's about where you have decided to go. Am I talking to someone? Second thing you notice in successful careers is learning ability. I've never come across anyone who succeeded at anything who didn't have the ability to learn the skills required. No, never come across it. Earlier when I was telling you about my mate who's now dealing in scrap metal, he learned to handle scrap when we first came in this system. When we first came in this system, we had to take several kinds of jobs in order to make ends meet. See, I know a lot of you see Uncle Ray today and you think all kinds of things about Uncle Ray. But would you believe me if I told you I stacked shelves in Sainsbury's before? Would you believe me if I told you I was a security guard in Primark before? Would you believe me if I told you I worked in a Pizza Hut kitchen before? You're laughing. Uncle Ray hasn't always been a chartered accountant. Where's my brother? Ebo? Where's Ebo? Look, Ebo got a job working security in an outside in a field or something, yeah? And he was complaining about the impact of the weather. I showed the man how to use a bin bag to insulate himself against rain. The man was looking at me and thinking, where did Uncle Ray learn this thing? I mean, that technique will only come from somebody who has walked the walk. How many of us think a bin bag can be an item of clothing? It doesn't even occur to you. You only know that when you've been in there. The man was looking at me thinking, where did Uncle Ray learn this thing from? But this friend of mine, back in those days when we're taking these jobs, he found himself an opportunity of working in a scrap yard. That is where he began to learn about scrap. And even as we progressed in the rest of our studies, he still maintained his interest in scrap. So for a lot of us, we thought, yeah, we're progressing through our course, we're writing the exams, we're passing, everything we finish, we're learning a job, whatever. Whilst we're all doing whatever we're doing, this friend of mine kept up his interest in scrap. He still kept learning about scrap metal. When he made the branch into working in scrap, a lot of us were concerned. We went to visit this man. We sat down and had a conversation. I came away from his house. I called two of my mates and I told him, listen, guys, stop worrying. Start praying. This man is onto something special. By the time I'd finished talking to the man, I realized this guy wasn't just taking a chance. No, he was following a plan. You see, he'd learned about scrap. He'd kept up his learning. He understood scrap. He knew where to source it. He knew how to process it. He knew how to kind of separate it into the different types. When he set up his first yard, he started with a loan from the bank, and we're worried. Oh my God, the size of this loan. Mate, if your cash flow fails you, you're stuffed, man. So that conversation with him, I told my guys, stop worrying. Start praying for this guy. This guy's onto something great. The man knew exactly what he was doing. Today, he's a millionaire. The funny thing, when you meet him, yeah, and you ask him, oh, what field are you in? What are you doing? Yeah. He tells you he's a glorified Kokompe British. That's it. That's how he describes himself. Yeah. He tells you, does anyone know Kokompe? Gen Z won't know Kokompe. Look, your parents have come from certain places, I'm telling you. He'll tell you he's a glorified Kokompe British. That's the way he describes himself. When people see him and he looks so successful, yeah, and the question, oh man, what field are you? No, I'm a glorified Kokompe British. Don't kid yourself. He learned what was required to succeed in that business. There's times I've found myself in the midst of people, and when we're talking about scrap metal or anything to do with metallurgy, I'm able to say certain things and they look at me like I'm expert. I don't know, Jack. It's because of him. He knows the business so well that even those of us around him have picked up some of the knowledge. So talk about metallurgy and you think I've ever worked in a scrapyard. I don't know the first thing about scrapyard. No. But I just want you to understand how good his knowledge is. Learning ability. Anyone who's ever succeeded at anything have taken the time to learn. 2 days ago, I spoke about the power of skill. But you look at any successful career, you see the ability to learn. You see that skill in there, that ability in there. The next thing you pick up is that they develop this marketable skill. See, it's not just about skill, it has to be a marketable one. It could be a very good eater of food. That's a skill. And I translate that into a market. That could be a very it's funny when I talk about this thing about marketability. My missus, in my opinion, she makes some of the best burgers you ever gonna taste on this planet. Honest. You taste the burger that woman has made, you wonder why she's not a caterer. She's got the skill. But can she leverage that burger making skill better than McDonald's? I think you find the answer is a no. It's not just about the skill, it's the ability to market it. There are people, look, I used to live in Lewisham. There was a shop, a guy called Samuel. He made pizzas. Samuel's pizzas, I mean, that shop has shut down. But today, I still remember the taste of those pizzas. The guy's pizzas were damn good. And this is coming from someone who's working in the Pizza Hut kitchen. The guy's pizzas were damn good. But how was he marketing that skill? How was he bringing that skill to the market? It's not just about having the skill, it's about bringing it to the market. And this is why sometimes when we as parents pass certain comments on certain habits or certain, hobbies you young ones sometimes like to create and think you're going to become stars out of it. We say things like, look, I know you enjoy it and I know you think you're good at it. But how are you going to market this? How far is that going to get you in terms of a career? Back in our youth, there were some people we knew then who were fantastic dancers. Yeah, they would come entertainment night, they'll be dancing and the whole school will just be cheering and excited. These guys were gifted. How many of them were able to translate that skill into a market? How many of them? See, this is a harsh reality. You might be good at it, but can you live off it? When you look at people with successful careers, the skills they have are marketable ones. They know how to market those skills. Back in my days as a security guard, there was this guy, it's a Jamaican guy. He was working with the cleaners when I was a security guard. I had to open the door to let them in. And when they're done, I let them out through the back. So we got to be quite good friends. He was one of the workers. About 3 years after I'd left that job, man knew I was studying accountancy. Gives me a call. I meet up with him in Catford. He wants me to help him draw up a business plan to approach a bank about setting up a cleaning company. I'm like, okay. I was a cleaner before, so yeah, let's do it. I'm happy to draw up the plan. So look, this is what the bank will require. This is what they're going to ask you. This is what they're going to do. Blah, 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 blah. Do the talk, thanks me, disappears. I don't hear from him for about another 2 or 3 years. Long story short, I'm working in a job that involves taking care of care homes. So I'm traveling around the UK, going to our different locations and sites. I go to a location and I'm told, oh, the kitchen, the pantry area is over there, and that's where they cook the food, and then they bring the food over there for the residents to share. It's one of our premium locations, so we keep the kitchen separate from where the people are. So it's an audit visit. I pay them a surprise audit visit. So I'm confidently walking to the pantry area. I just want to go and have a look around the pantry area. Knock the door. Door opens. They let me in. I'm talking. Everybody's listening to this director of finance who's come from London, and he's asking questions about the pantry and where this should go and where that should go, and health and safety and cross-contamination and all the talk you do in a pantry. Next thing I hear from behind me, some voice shouts, "What's up, Ray? What's class? Now you that?" I turn around and it's Glenn. I forget I'm supposed to be an FD. I'm so excited to see this guy. I forget I'm supposed to be an FD. So typical bro code, I'm like, "Yo, brethren, man." And everybody's shocked. Then we realize where we are and everybody's shocked. Glenn was running a company that had won the cleaning contracts for 3 of our sites. He started cleaning the floor with me in Primark. We meet after some 10 years. He's running a cleaning company. A couple of years ago, in this same auditorium, I told you guys that there's 2 kinds of workers you have in this system. There are those who work to earn, and there are those who work to learn. The ones that work to learn are the ones that hold the future of the industry. The ones that work to earn, well and good, you're going to be a cog in a wheel. But the ones that work to learn hold the future of the industry. The man was cleaning floors in Primark. I meet him within 10 years. He's running a company that has 250 employees working across 3 main sites. We're so excited to see each other. We go back to the way we used to relate. We forget we're on an official premise. We spend some 5 minutes doing our bumbleclad, rasclad, then we remember where we are. And then suddenly I turn on and I straighten my tie, and then I have to look very official. Marketable skill. Marketable skill. Am I talking to someone? The next trend you see is their consistency over intensity. Now, what am I talking about? This is a difference between talent and hard work. Now, let me share a secret with you. I have seen hard work outperform talent. You see, it's funny. When some people are talented, they show curious potential. Yeah? They'll turn up one day and do something fantastic, show some brilliant piece of skill. But if that intensity is not matched with consistency, trust me, it won't go far. Years ago, I read an autobiography Gary Neville wrote. Do you know Gary Neville? Manchester United, used to be the right back of Manchester United. I don't like Gary Neville because he plays for Man U. I'm an Arsenal fan. I don't like Man U. Back then, we were 2 teams in rivalry. Man U and Arsenal had a rivalry going. But in spite of my dislike of the guy, you have to admit the guy did succeed. So I came across his autobiography and decided, let's just read it and see what this Mancunian guy has to say for himself. Horrible people. What struck me was in one of the early chapters when he was talking about his youth. He said, when he got the chance to enter the Man United Training Academy, morning training started at 8. He got there at 6. Why? He said when he saw the talents that were available, yeah, he saw the Beckhams, he saw the schools, he saw the what do you call that guy? Gigs. He saw the talents that were available. He realized that if he was to keep up with these guys, he had to put in more work than they were doing. He had to work harder. Gary Neville tells you that even among the Beckhams, the Gigs, the schools, he said there were people that were more talented than these guys. What made the difference was that the guys that made it to the top were the guys that stayed consistent. Consistency. We spoke 2 days ago about consistency. I told you it's going to come in good. See, what you can show me occasionally is a potential you. What you show me every day is the future you. I'll take that again. What you can show me occasionally is a potential you. Right? You can come and show me that you're devil on the keyboard, yeah? Knock out some rhythm or something. You can come and show me that you're devil on art, your artwork, like you're wicked. You can come and show me that you're a devil at taking free kicks or something, whatever. That is a potential you. What you can show consistently. See, you're a devil on a keyboard. But how many days in a week are you that devil on a keyboard? Because I tell you, the one that practices consistently on that keyboard daily will get further than you with the talent. All of us in here, if we cast our minds back, we will remember people in certain fields of endeavor, even maybe in school, they were like sharp. Look, they'll spend half of the term partying and mucking around. A week to the exam, they'll sit down, absorb something, come and write the exam, and sometimes they do better than everybody else. And back then, we looked at some of these guys and we simply envied them. We thought they were gifted. We envied them. Sharp brains, we used to call them. But you observe that even with that sharpest of brains, the lack of consistency built indiscipline in them. And even when they were able to get far, that indiscipline is what brought them down. Consistency is the game. Like they tell you, power without control is a highway to destruction. Consistency. Am I talking to someone? Final trend you see in successful careers is networking ability. Sometimes they tell you, it is not about what you know, it's about who you know. I told you 2 days ago, you don't need everyone liking you. You only need the right people liking you. A network of people you know makes a world of difference about how your career progresses. Because there's all of us in here who have ever bothered to work in any job, in any institution, will testify that 9 times out of 10, the managers we see, the directors we see, the leaders we see are often not the best people at their jobs. No, the people under them who know their job far better than the people up there. I'll confess to that myself. I'm an FD. There are people on my team who are wizards, absolute wizards in accountancy. I can't match them if I try. What makes the difference is who you know. What makes the difference is who you know. There's several times I'll sometimes finish work. I'm bone tired. I want to get home. Phone call comes. Oh, I'm meeting Mr. XYZ person at this pub. Care to come along? I'll change my entire direction. I'm heading towards that pub. That Mr. XYZ, once I know it's useful to my career progression, once I know he said, I'm changing my direction. I learned a funny thing about English people. I mean, I've only lived in England and Ghana consistently, so I don't know if there's other cultures like that. But look, an English person can live next door to you for 10 years and simply ignore you. If you're lucky, you just look at you and say bye. If you get the opportunity to spend 30 minutes with that guy in a pub, on a train, somewhere, have a conversation with him, share a beer with him, suddenly he considers you his friend. You were next door to him for 10 years. He ignored you, but spend some time with him. He suddenly considers you his friend. A good neighbor. Networking. Look, the number of doors that have opened to people in this country just because they knew the right people, you will not believe. Will you believe me if I told you that over 60% of job opportunities are not advertised? They are filled by word of mouth. Even promotions, thank you. They are not advertised. Look, they are filled by word of mouth. Who knows who? Who can vouch for you? Who can guarantee for you? Who can put in a good word for you? That takes you further than many skills you think you know. Call it what you want. Call it nepotism. Call it discrimination. Call it what you want. But that's the harsh truth. That's the way these human systems work. Especially if you're in a system where you are in a minority. See, you go to places and 80% of the people are white. You have another 15% that are Asian. And if you're lucky, there'll be some 5% there that are black or other God knows what. You want to get to the top of that system. You need to belong. A lot of the time, the mistake we make as black people is we like to be angry about our disadvantages. Yeah? And, oh, these guys, they discriminate. And she looked at me this way. If she comes to the office tomorrow, I'm going to face her, man. Yeah, you're going to face her, all right. But what kind of a reputation are you building for yourself? Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying don't stand up for yourself. But if you need to face her, don't go in that angry aggression thing that builds to the stereotype of the black person. Go in that constructive mindset that even the person you went to face will realize I'm dealing with an intelligent person. Am I talking to someone? Networking ability, the ability to meet people further up the line, people who know people, who can connect you, who can open doors for you, who can put you through there, here. That networking ability, look, it takes you further. And this is where sometimes Christians have an issue with me, because then they say, oh, what's the question they like to ask? Is this biblical? And I ask them, what has the Bible got to do with this? We're talking about career. I mean, does everything have to be spiritual? No, some things are hard cold reality. Biblical. I'm telling you about networking, asking me, is it biblical? And then you point out to them that even if you look in your own churches, you will see this networking thing I'm telling you about. You think the pastors and co that rise to the top of these mega churches and co, you think the ones that start from the bottom of where they were, you think they're all up there by spiritual capability. Think again. If you walk among these people, you see the same tendency. It's a human tendency. We like people around us that we can trust. We like people around us that we are comfortable with. We like people around us that we know will be there, will have our back. It is these networking skills, these abilities that take you up the ladder. Especially if you're coming from a minority. One time we went for a seminar. We managed to get some tickets to a seminar that was held in a Royalhampton, a very nice hotel in London. Class hotel, right? And the food was fantastic. Ahead of the event, they ask you for dietary preferences. There were only about 12 of us. who of black Afro origin. But they went and got a black chef because of us. Yeah, that's how good our hotel is. They went and got a black chef because of us. Food was fantastic. We finished the first day session, finished the evening session, and it was time to go and have dinner. And everyone was heading towards dinner. I was like, we're going to head towards dinner. The dinner table, at the dinner setup. I went there with my boss at the time, a white guy. And we get to this dinner setup, nice long tables, everyone. You know what it's like, Doc, these conference dinners layout. And my boss he'd get up, say, Ray, would go to one table. Oh, hi, Mr. XYZ, talk. Oh, this is Ray. I've worked with Ray for a long time, shake hands, whatever. And then he go like that, and I followed him. One part of my mind was thinking, man, I'm going to miss out on this food, man. I'm going to miss out on this food. Let's carry me all around this place. Let's say hello to this person, say hello to this person, say whatever. We finally rushed back to our table, hurry through our meal. My boss then goes up to his room. And then I decide to go looking for the few black guys I'd run into. Because, we formed our own little clique. You know what we blacks are like. We see each other, we're going to, go looking for the guys. I go looking for them. They're in the lounge. These guys had eaten so much. They were all dozing. They're dozing. They said the guys had eaten so much, they were dozing. And at that point, I'm thinking, actually, these guys are the ones enjoying this conference now. Huh? This boss of mine carrying me, talk to this guy, shake this guy. These guys are the ones enjoying this conference. That's what was going through my mind at the time. And yeah. One of the people my then boss introduced me to was a deputy in charge of one of the budgets held by the Foreign Office, the British Foreign Office. Found myself in a role working with an international charity. At that time, we were at risk of missing out on a contract because my predecessor had resigned because of a dispute between him and the then CEO, and we'd missed the deadline. When I joined, they said, look, let's see if we can do something to salvage this. So I decided, okay, let's see what I can do. Do I have to write a letter or an email? So I go to the website and I'm looking at who the decision makers are. And then I see her face. I said, damn, I know this bugger. 5 years ago, that conference, he was one of the guys I spoke to. We swapped complimentary cards. I get home and I go up to the loft then. My missus wonders what is wrong with this husband or this. You guys have to pray for that woman because there are certain things I do sometimes. She thinks her husband is just bonkers. I go up to the loft. I'm looking through things. Thankfully, I find the man's card. See, this was the interesting thing. For every card we picked up, I saw my boss do one thing. He'd ask the people then for their personal mobile. See, those were the days when landlines were still in vogue and people kept their mobile phones separate. He'd ask everyone for their personal mobile. And when he takes your card, he'd write your mobile number at the back of your card. I didn't know why he was doing that. I just followed him. So when he writes the number, I also write the number. I picked that card and that man's number is behind the card. I get to the office the next day. Call the man. Call that number. Man picks up. And you know the way these upper class British people are? They answer the phone with their name. Yeah? You call and it's like, Robert Hamilton, good morning. Hi, Robert. My name's Ray. Do you remember me, Ray? Says, not quite, but this is my personal mobile, so we must have met somewhere. So, oh, yes. I was the deputy of XYZ person. We met at the Royal Hampton Hotel. Oh, bald guy. Yes, that's me. Of all the features the man could have remembered about me, the only thing he remembered was I was bald. That was the only thing the man remembered. The bald guy. Yeah, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me. Oh, how can I help you? See, just because somebody he knew had introduced me to him, suddenly I was his friend. He didn't even remember any. All he remembered was I was bald. Yeah? I was his friend. So we get talking, and I'm like, this is a situation, working for this organization. We missed the deadline. Oh, that. Said, yeah, I just wondered if you could help us out somewhere because we really, really need the funding. Whereabouts are you? Give my location. Have you got your application printed out? I said, I can do that in 5 minutes. Meet me here Wednesday evening. Gives me a location. Long story short, I meet the man, I hand a folder to him. Within 2 weeks, we're granted the funding. My boss thinks I'm an angel. No. No. Networking. I may have missed out on the jerk chicken and rice and peas, but I got myself a damn phone number that opened the door for me. Why am I sharing this story? All of us, particularly our young ones, yeah? My Jersey folk. When you get the opportunity to attend events at which the leaders of your profession are available, don't leave that event until you've managed to speak to at least one of them. Because sometimes that's all it takes. You don't even need to be able to say much. Hello, Mr. Miss XYZ person. Oh, I'm such a fan of your work. I followed you, blah, 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 blah. Human beings, ego will kick in. Oh, how many of my books I've read? Look, I ran into one author and told her I'd read 5 of her books. I only needed titles of those. I didn't read jack. I said I'd read 5 of her books. Because I could mention 5 titles this woman had written, this woman spent 30 minutes talking to me. Learn to network. Learn to network. Learn to get into the conversations that matter. Because that is where change happens. That is where progress happens. There are certain jobs you get just because of who is your reference. Bishop knows my first career breakthrough in this system. One of the people who gave me a reference was then the chief internal auditor of Oxfam International. You know how I met that guy? I had become an Oxfam volunteer. I was going around from Oxfam shops, auditing Oxfam shops. There was one seminar that he was coming to hold in order to get feedback from us internal auditors and whatever. I prepared a file. I get to that place. I work my way, manage to talk to this man. I show him the shops I've audited. I show him what I'd read, whatever. The man keeps my name in his mind. I get an opportunity. They say provide references. I call this man. Say, I've got this opportunity. I'm applying for this job. I just wondered if you'd like to be a reference for me. Blah, blah, blah. He said, give them money. He said, give them money. The name they saw was higher than all of them who were doing the recruitment. They think if this man knows this black guy, then there must be something good about this black guy. I hadn't spoken to the man for more than 40 minutes ever before, but I made sure I left an impression on his mind. The man agrees to give me a reference. It opens a door. Networking. It's an ability that will take you further than you believe. Because in this system, and I'm sure in other systems elsewhere, it takes people to open doors. It takes people to open doors. Sometimes all you need is one person putting in a good word for you. That's all you need. One person says, I know this person. I can vouch for them. That's all you need. Am I talking to someone? Can I have the next slide, please? So, for lasting career outcomes, I want us to note the following. Look, each stage of a career will have different requirements. You see, when you're an admin officer, there's a requirement there. When you become a manager, there's a requirement there. When you move from a manager to each stage will have its different requirements. You need to understand those requirements to ensure you excel at them. Each stage of any stage, even walking through the door in the first place, will have its requirements. But that's what you need to understand in order to excel. Reputation is critical. Reputation, you guard your reputation with everything you've got. For my Gen Z folk, I want you to note this. The internet doesn't forget. Gen Z, what did I say? The internet doesn't forget. That nude video you post, that semi-strip tease you do and put on, what's those things people have? Is it podcast or whatever? TikTok, Twitter, thank you. Look, the internet doesn't forget. And if you're not careful what you put out there, one day, when you are looking at your biggest opportunity, that which the internet did not forget is what will pull you down. You guard your reputation and careful what you put out there. I still don't understand how this current generation of young people can get into relationships with each other and still decide to record sex videos of themselves. When they see these same sex videos damaging other people's life, they still want to do it. I don't get what that absorption is. Look, some young guy tells you, send me a pic, send me a video, turn off the bloody camera. Are you hearing me? Are you hearing me? Because these empty-headed young boys you guys float around with, the day that relationship ends, it's those same videos they're going to use to mark you up. Tell me you haven't seen this happen before. Internet doesn't forget. It's going to be in there, some corner, somewhere. Someone is going to drag something up. Not too long ago, people were being disqualified for jobs because of Facebook profiles. Some of the profiles they themselves had forgotten. Somebody goes and drags them up. Are you hearing me? Don't send those things out. I don't care what sweet words they tell you. And I'm down here and I'm so sad and I'm so tired and I just can't sleep. But if you send me a video of your boobs, it's going to calm me down. Tell them, call your mom. Those are the boobs you suck. You call your mom. Are you hearing me? You think it's a joke? Look, this is a serious business, I'm telling you. The damage these things have done to people's careers, you will not believe. And how they keep falling into the same trap, I don't get it. The internet doesn't forget. Not too long ago, it was very, very funny. I don't want to mention the name because I might get drawn into some angles I don't want to get to. But look, there was this prominent lady who had come up to the stage and had was talking because now she's a big lady. Yeah, she was trying to talk and throw her weight around some way, some style, whatever. Someone went and found a video of her when she was a student trying to wear a bikini in her hostel. I'm sure you guys saw that video. It was on. I'm sure you guys saw it. Yeah, Gen Z, I'm sure you guys saw it. This poor girl at the time was trying to understand how to wear a bikini. How they managed to record that video at that time, I don't know. But then someone tells me that those times the young phones had cameras then and they could record things. But someone recorded a video of this young girl trying to put on a bikini, boobs and co, showing all kinds of things, trying to get into a bikini. And when she gets to the top of her career, where she thinks she's made it and she thinks she has a voice to throw around, someone just puts that video out online. Within a week, she's out of a job. The internet doesn't forget. Am I talking to someone? The next thing is maintain relevance. See, let's talk about adaptation and evolution. Look, it's absolutely very key. 2 days ago, I remember sharing my experience in my training days when Excel came out and some people still wanted to stick to the old ways of using 12-column cash books. See, they refused to adapt because they thought they were the ones in control. That lack of adaptation cost them. We spoke about Nokia. We spoke about BlackBerry. See, interestingly, thinking about it, how many of us remember the era of the digital watch? See, when those digital watches came out, when the disco watches came out, yeah, being made by these Japanese kids and co. These Swiss watchmakers thought we hold the market. These guys are just kids. Nothing good is going to come out of them. Now watches are smart. Now watches are smart. These Swiss watchmakers that we used to revere, the names we used to worship, Seiko, look, I'm sure you remember these names we used to worship these Swiss watchmakers. Now we're all wearing smart watches with names that sometimes we can't even pronounce. Maintain relevance. Whatever field you're in will change. It will evolve. And in these days, things evolve so very, very quickly. You need to maintain relevance. Okay, after this slide. You need to maintain relevance, please. Next thing you need to do is to recharge regularly. You see this in people who have lasting career outcomes. The best example I'm going to give you, church folk, is about Jesus. Yeah? Jesus, in the course of his ministry, regularly took breaks. See, they'll say he separated himself from the people and went up the mountain, or he separated himself from the people and went up the hill. He regularly took breaks to recharge himself. It was returning from one such break that he walked on the seas and the disciples saw him and they got scared. The man regularly took breaks. If Jesus had to take breaks, if you had to recharge, if you had to avoid burnout, I don't know what else to say to the rest of you. It's absolutely key. You keep going and going and going without taking the proper break and rest, you'll burn out. And trust me, when you burn out, the industry forgets you and carries on. They won't come looking for you. They won't say he burnt himself out working for us. He burnt himself out. No. The industry forgets you and moves on. Next thing, I spoke about networking. So we won't waste too much time over there. Learn to build and maintain beneficial relationships. We spoke about networking. Final thing on this slide, though, is to resist entitlement. Once again, I'm talking to Gen Z. Nobody owes you anything. I don't care how great your mom thinks you are. I don't care how great your dad thinks you are. I don't care if your grandma thinks the sun rises and sets on you. When you walk through my door, through my office, you are there to perform a job for me. That's my only interest in you. When you go home, you can go and be your princess. In my office, if you're an admin person, I want that goddamn letter typed and I want it typed now. You don't type it, you're out, somebody else takes your place. Point blank, period. Young people today walk into jobs and they think someone owes them a living. They act as if they are doing you a favor by working for you. Nobody owes you anything. See, we told this story of the beggar, a beggar and a rich man. And every day the man goes by, he gives the beggar 2 coins. Every day the man goes by, he gives the beggar 2 coins. Then one day the man is going by, he sees the beggar and only gives the beggar 1 coin. And the beggar is like, why did you only give me 1 coin today? The man said, oh, I had a very bad day and all I can afford is 1 coin. The beggar asked him, why should I suffer because you're having a bad day? That is human nature. So at this stage, we're going to talk about business, right? I mean, we spoke about career, and I hope what we discussed about careers will go a long way to be useful. But like I always say, you know where to find me. You got any questions? Can't find me, let's talk. Yeah? I'm one of the easiest people to find. True or not true? Has anyone tried to find me and not found me? I tend to be very available, don't I? Yeah. Anyway, let's get talking about business. Can I have the next slide, please? So once again, I start with a definition. We say, what is a business? When people say, I have a business, or I'm a business person, I'm a businessman, what is a business? Now, a business is any organized venture with the aim of exchanging a product or service for monetary reward. I start again. Any organized venture with the aim of exchanging a product or a service for monetary reward. So, three things. It's got to be organized. You've got to be wanting to exchange something. Either a product or a service, you've got to be wanting to exchange something, and there has to be a monetary reward. If there's no money in it, you've got a hobby, not a business. Is everyone with me? I don't care how good a hairdresser you are. I don't care how good a seamstress you are. If you're sewing the best outfits and your friends are wearing them to events and getting credits and everything, compliments and all of that, but you're not getting paid for it, you don't have a business, you've got a hobby. I don't want to talk about hobby. I want to talk about business. Now, before I go too far, let's get this clear. Money is not evil. No. It is a love of money that is evil. If you go back to that verse Christians like to quote, you see that what Paul wrote there is that the love of money is the root of all. The love of money is the root of many forms of evil. Money itself is not evil. If money was evil, Paul himself wouldn't have worked as a tent maker to pay for his mission. Paul himself speaks with pride about the work he had to do. When he said, when I was amongst you, I worked for my living. He points out the people. Money isn't evil. Don't let anyone tell you that. It is a love of money. Where your love of money exceeds your moral standing, exceeds your humanity. It is a love of money. That is the root of many forms of evil. Today, as we speak, we have a very powerful leader of a very powerful country who demonstrates exactly what Paul was talking about. That leader loves money so much. He's willing to start wars, have people die, ruin countries because he wants to make money. It is a love of money that is the root of all forms of evil. But money itself is not evil. So when we're talking about business, you are in a business to make money. Point blank, period. If you're not making money, you're in a hobby. I'll happily visit you for your hobby. Yeah? But if you're in a business, you're in a business to make money. L'argent. Tu comprends? That's what you're there to do. So if you open a shop and you tell me you are in a business and I come to the shop, I look at you. Your venture is organized. You have a location, you have an address, you have a name for the business, you have your goods on display, well organized. So it's organized. In the case of a shop, you are exchanging goods for money. See, I said you either got a product or a service. In the case of a shop, you're exchanging goods for money. Now, if I come into your nice organized venture and I pick something off the shelf, and then I go to your counter or your cash point, and I place the item there, and I attempt to pay for it, and you tell me, oh, you don't have to pay, it's free. You are not in a business. You're in a hobby. Comprehend? And this is where my Ghanaian people frustrate me so much. Honestly, my Ghanaian people frustrate me so much. Ghanaians walk into businesses their fellow Ghanaians have set up and expect to be given products for free. I don't get that. The man set up a business. He didn't set up a hobby. He's got overheads. He's got expenses. He's got stuff to pay. Now, if everyone who walked in there walked out of there with things without paying for things, I mean, how's that business going to stay afloat? One friend of mine, He set up a venture, a retail venture, and he did this very interesting thing. Every time our fellow Ghanaians would go in there and want to be given something for free, if he ever tells you to take something for free right in front of you, he'll put his hand in his pocket, open his wallet, take money out and put it in the till. And then the people will ask him, why have you put the money in the till? He says, I'm paying for what you just took. Because someone has to pay for it. I mean, you want it for free, but someone has to pay for it. So I'm paying for what you just took. It didn't take long. That behavior stopped. It takes money to get the good and the service to the point where you and I can enjoy it. The one who did that didn't do it as a hobby. They did it as a business. They've got costs to recover. They've got stuff to pay. If all we want to do is to go there and seek charity, it won't be long before that shop will not be there. Recent times, there's been a lot of debate, a lot of talk about churches and their finances, how churches are financed. I'm not in favor of opulence. No. And I will not stand here and tell you that there is not financial exploitation going on in churches. No, I know it. I audit some of them. I have stopped some of them. I have threatened some of them with prison time. I know it exists. But at the very bottom, basic level, to set up a church, a lot of people say the church is not a business. I agree. It is not a business. No one sets up a church to sell you salvation. No one sets up a church to sell you spiritual support. But to keep that infrastructure of the church running, it requires money. So for every church that you are affiliated to, for every church that you benefit from, I want you to think about what is required to keep that church operated. It's a very complex topic. I know I'm supposed to be talking about business, and I know to some extent I'm what do you call it? I'm deviating over here. But the scandals and the opulence of some of the major players become the stick for the back of the smaller players. And yet the sad thing is that the major players you see form a small percentage of the total churches you come across. Because I can tell you, having spent the better part of 20 years working in and among churches, auditing some, preparing accounts for some, giving some business advice, I can tell you that over 75% of the churches you see around you have financial challenges. The opulent ones you see are a small percentage. Don't beat the small ones with a stick meant for the big ones. I'm not saying there's not misbehavior in churches, no. And people like me are doing our human best to stop them. But in spite of all the criticism, all the condemnation, all the arguments back, I mean, recently there was this video that's been going around town. Some lady, I think she was in a Methodist church, who said something about, because the bishops, you see, it's interesting. What hit the airwaves was a video of the woman. What was not publicized was a video of what the pastor said that the woman responded to. See, it's a woman's video that made all the rounds. But no one showed what the pastor said before that the woman reacted to. But that is a problem that social media is creating for the church. Social media loves a scandal, and nothing is more scandalous than a church one. Nothing is more scandalous. No, if I was in a business somewhere, right, and I was ripping people off, I was doubling my prices, and I was working with. Look, if I ever got caught, trust me, one article maximum in a newspaper, and that's it. No one will hear anything about it. It's not strange. Let something similar happen in a church. It will take 10 years before they let you forget it. Every church needs support. It needs funding to run. A church is not a business. A church is a family. A church is a home. And we will all testify that in the homes and families that we come from, money is a necessity. Support your church is what I'm saying. I know there's churches out there that are wasting money. I know there's churches out there that are misapplying funds. Like I said, and I deal with some of them. What, 2014? Your bishop will testify. I threatened one pastor I was going to lock him up. The man thought I was joking. He quoted scripture at me. Touch not my anointed, do my prophet no harm. I pulled out my phone and I called the police right in front of him. And trust me, if the man hadn't given back the money I wanted him to give back, I would have locked him up. I'm not saying there's no financial malpractice in churches. But what I'm saying is that this church we're in is one church that I can guarantee no malpractice happens, because my brother himself knows. He knows me and he knows what I stand for. There's certain things he won't even think of doing. If there's ever one thing that will create a problem between me and that brother of mine over there, it'll be financial malpractice, because I won't treat him any differently from the way I've treated other people. Every church needs support to function. So whatever church you've chosen, that is your home. Support your church. We will be talking about accountability, but I just want to leave this idea in your mind that when scandals happen, these scandals are not universal. I'm not saying scandals don't exist. I just say that these scandals are not universal. Anyway, let's shoot on. But we started by looking at what a business is. Look, modern business is about solving problems for a profit. I'm talking about solving problems for a profit. Profit is necessary for a business to survive. If you're making a business without profit, you're only preparing yourself for a long life of what do you call that thing? Bankruptcy. Abi, you declare you bankrupt. You know the painful thing about bankruptcy. I realize the painful thing about bankruptcy. Once you get on that status, it affects so many other parts of your life. You literally cannot turn around. You pass here, they say you are disqualified from being a director. You pass here, they say your credit history is bad. You literally cannot turn around in our modern societies, because credit takes you far, and you literally cannot turn around. Yeah, but profit is necessary. See, if all I do is buy a bottle, no, I'll take your phone instead. If all I do is buy this phone from this lovely daughter of mine, I buy it for £100, yeah, and I come over here and I sell it to this other daughter of mine for £100. What have I done? What have I done? If I take this phone from this daughter of mine for £100, and I come and give it to this daughter of mine for £120, what have I done? Now we're talking. Now we're talking. If there's no profit being made, your business ain't gonna last long. Point blank period. So we're looking to solve a problem for a profit. Now, people talk about meeting a need or you see, there's so many problems. Some of them are real, some of them are imagined. But if you can solve a problem for a profit, you're in a business. I told you how much I like Golden Tree chocolate. I'm trying to stop. I've done my best to reduce it. But I know if I keep eating them golden trees, it won't be long before I'm going to need this daughter of mine to start plucking out some teeth. Now, if she's gone pluck out my teeth, she's solving a problem for me. See? I created the problem, but she's helping me solve it. But we think of her as a dentist and we think, oh, she's a medical person. No, she's solving a problem. Yeah. The funny thing about this internet-based world we're in now is that there are so many problems people are creating for each other. People are creating so many problems. And in creating the problems, there are opportunities emerging. And the smart ones are those taking advantage of those opportunities and making profit from it. That's why you hear some fantastic business ideas pop up. Some kid somewhere who doesn't even know which direction to put his jeans on is suddenly a millionaire because he identifies a problem and learns how to solve it. The opportunity of business is in the problem it solves. Amazon solves the problem of convenience. See, people want to sit in a sofa today and order everything they need to order and have it delivered to their doorstep. So all they have to do is just get up and go to the door and pick up what it is they've ordered. Amazon said, okay, you like that convenience? I'm going to solve that problem for you, but it's going to cost you. Airbnb. Realize people got space in their houses they don't know what to do with. Most of the time they got an extra room here, an extra room there, and they're thinking, if I have to go out there and put an advert in the window of the local shop, I have to sign a contract with somebody, some tenant to come be here 6 months, landlords, right, and tenants, and God knows whatever, blah, 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 blah. But I've got a space, I don't know. Airbnb says, you got a problem? I'm going to solve it for you, but it's going to cost you. Apple. People want entertainment. At the same time, they want communication. And they want all kinds of entertainment whilst they're on the move and still make sure that they're able to stay communicating with other people. You got a problem? I'm going to solve it for you, but it's going to cost you. Every app on your smartphone solves a problem. Think about it. Every app on your smartphone solves a problem. It's interesting when I talk about that some problems are real and some are created. Some companies have been so skillful that they actually create a demand and they themselves learn how to meet the demand and get people to pay for the privilege. Sometimes it's just lovely to see. Years ago, middle 1980s, it carried on till the early 1990s before they got stopped. There was this drink company. The company made drinks, yeah? When you look at that drink, you sometimes wonder what that drink is even about. There's no sense to that drink. But it's existed for so long, no one can get rid of it. But it's because these people know how to create problems in people's minds. What they took to doing was that they realized that a lot of people watch football matches. Yeah, football had become a universal game, and a lot of people watch football matches. So they hired some psychologists. And these psychologists gave them an idea. They said, Fund the tournaments. Get the tournaments out on TV. But whilst the tournaments are on TV, place your logo in certain key places. So before the match starts, when you're watching the TV, the center circle has that drinks logo on it. When the match starts, you see the company's logo to the top right of the screen. Halftime, they'll be given adverts and the company's logo is there. It says drink. I almost mentioned their name. It says drink that drink. But those of you who are around at the time, you know exactly which company I'm talking about. Look, their sales quadrupled. Their sales quadrupled until the regulatory authorities took a look and said, look, you are brainwashing people into buying your drink. So they stopped that practice. But the point I'm making is this. There wasn't a problem before. They created one. And then they met that problem at a profit. Solving a problem. See, earlier on, I was talking about marketable skill. This is where that thing comes into focus. See, you've got a skill. What problem does that skill solve? And how much are people willing to pay for that problem, for that solution? That's all you need. Yeah? Warren Buffett, he said, a man only needs one good idea to live like a king the rest of his life. Aristotle Onassis said, the secret to good business is knowing something nobody else knows. But every business, every product, it exists to solve a problem. And it's all around us. I'll give you an example. See my lovely sister. But darling, what's your name? I don't think we've met for long. What's your name? Natalie, yeah. You see my lovely sister sat there. Yeah? She's a new face. She's gorgeous, isn't she? Now I've been watching you all the time. I've been watching you ever since I saw you from when? Wednesday? I've been watching you, yeah? Absolute gorgeous girl, isn't she? Yeah? Okay. Now, let's look at my lovely sister. Darling, come over here. Come here. Come here. Come on. Yeah, come. Come on, girl. You're gorgeous. You're gorgeous. Don't shake it. Come on. Come on. Lovely woman, isn't she? Yeah? Look at my lovely daughter here. Yeah? You look at her, right? Absolutely gorgeous, isn't she? Yeah? But for every aspect of that beauty you see, somebody identified a problem that they're solving. And every aspect cost her money. See, I'm looking at her eyelashes. See the way they're flashing? They're not free, are they? You bought them, didn't you? I'm looking at your earrings. They're lovely, aren't they? They were not free, were they? You bought them. I'm looking at your nails. Absolutely lovely. At the very least, you bought the paint, didn't you? Or you went and had a pedicure. There you go. I tell you, she could take all these things off and still look absolutely gorgeous. But somebody realized, let me make her think she needs something more. See? So God gave you eyelashes, but I'm going to give you longer ones. See? God gave you lovely nails. I'm going to give you a longer one. And often we don't realize it. But they create these problems for us. And they solve them for us at a profit. Business. Yeah? Sit down, darling. Thank you very much. Business. You don't think about it that way, but that's exactly what business is. There was a time I took stock. I realized that most of the beauty products our African sisters use are sold by Asians. Have you ever thought about it that way? Have you thought about it that way? Think about it. Think about it. We use the most beauty products. They're all sold by a different nationality. They don't use it. Business. The problem doesn't it doesn't need to be real. You just need to have people think that they have it. And once you have them thinking that they have it, they're going to look for a solution. And you provide the solution at a cost. You got a business. Am I sowing ideas in somebody's mind? Am I sowing ideas in somebody's mind? Can we have the next slide, please? So when we look at characteristics of a successful business, because we want a business that will succeed, we want a successful business. Now, what do we see running through successful businesses? The first thing we notice is that they solve the problems and they solve it effectively. You see the examples I just used? All those examples show how companies are solving these problems and solving them effectively. Amazon have Prime, and now they have Prime Plus. Yeah, when they brought in Prime, those of us who took Prime thought, oh, it's an excellent service. Look, now they have Prime Plus. The next day before 11 a.m., somebody is knocking your door. The thing you ordered, it is there. There you go. Same day, yeah. It's the thing you ordered, it is there. That's the level to which they brought that convenience. See? Boom, and it's there. See, they solve the problem, they solve it effectively. Yeah. The next thing they do, they understand their customers deeply. The one person who taught me the most about black people's purchasing behavior was an Asian. See, I have a very good friend. He's over in the US now. He's set up a firm in the US. But when we first arrived, I met him in school when we first arrived and we became friends. He had an uncle who ran a series of shops. And that uncle was his guide. And he took us under his wing. That man taught us a lot. For some reason, I suppose it's grace, the man took quite a liking to me. And his shop was in Lewisham, near where I lived. And so sometimes on my way back from school or back from work, I just go by the shop, spend some 20, 30 minutes talking to him, carry on my way. But the man taught me plenty. And he taught me a lot about black people's purchasing behavior. He said the one group of people who buy the most things they don't need are black people. Say it again. The one group of people who buy the most things they don't need, he said, are black people. You think it's not true? Let's play the game. Look, I tell you something. If black people stopped buying things and put their money in their pocket, economies will collapse. Economies will collapse. I kid you not. I kid you not. This mid-level luxury part of the market, it's us. Oh, it's us. There was a time they showed a video. A woman in Indonesia, they were eating some herb and then what do you call it? Buying some coconut mixture, yeah, and rubbing it to their scalp because their hair had to grow long enough for their hair to be cut. Because they package them and they sell them to Africans as human hair. The women are in Indonesia. They're buying Brazilian hair. Look, he said that one group, those who buy things they don't need. It's coming from Indonesia and it's called Brazilian hair. And black women are buying it. I mean, relationships are breaking because girlfriends are asking for Brazilian hair and boyfriends can't afford. It's the same fake hair. Look, it's gone from bone straight to Brazilian to whatever. Human. But the next thing they'll sell Mary Magdalene hair. If you ask me to create a hair brand, I'll call it Mary Magdalene. Christian women will buy it. Wallahi, I will tell them this hair was the idea came because in a dream I saw Mary Magdalene and she said, "Go and tell my black sisters to use this hair." They will buy it. The problem doesn't have to be real, but you see, the point I'm making is this: the businesses that succeed, they understand their customers well. They know what their customers will buy. They know what their customers will pay money for. They understand their customers well. And that is how they succeed. Another trend of successful businesses, you see that they execute and they leverage consistently and effectively. And what do I mean by that? Look, we're just talking about the Amazon delivery system. That went from 3 working days to 2 to 1 to now how much? 3 hours? There's several times I go to buy things. There's a cheaper price on another website, but I'll buy from Amazon because I know when I buy from Amazon, within 24 hours, the item is at my door. They're not necessarily the cheapest, but they are the most convenient. See, they've leveraged that convenience so very effectively. I remember when Uber came on the scene. Look, before Uber, right, in London, we had what they call the black cab. You see the black cab? Look, these black cab drivers, they had to take training to qualify to be black cab drivers. They called it the knowledge. Yeah. And some of them tell you that to be a black cab driver at the time, you needed to remember more things than a surgeon in operation. That's how, look, you had to remember in your mind, yeah, the exam. You sit in front of a group of examiners. They'll tell you, I'm on this street in this part of London. I need to get to that street in this part of London. Tell me the quickest way to get there. These guys had to memorize those things. That's what it meant to be a black cab driver. And for a long time, they ruled the roost. If you go to events and these black cab drivers turn up, you see their outfit top to bottom. These guys were making damn good money. Then along comes Uber. Then along comes Uber. And literally any idiot who can drive a car and watch a phone screen is in business. There you go. All this industry, this black cab industry. Am I talking to someone? The next thing these businesses do, they adapt extremely quickly. You see, just even staying with the Uber and the black cab business, you would have thought that with the knowledge black cab drivers had, as Uber emerged as a competition, they could use that knowledge in a way to adapt. No, they sat in their corner and they were arguing and insisting, let the government ban Uber. They went on demonstrations. At a point, they parked their cabs in front of Victoria Station. Don't let any car come in, as if we couldn't walk out of Victoria and meet the Uber up the road. They did all kinds of... Instead of adapting, they duck in their corner. Has Uber gone away? It is still there. It is still there. Successful businesses adapt absolutely very quickly. Apple started with a basic idea of a smartphone. Then they realized apps were the way forward. So they began to let apps come in. Now other companies began to do apps. Now what Apple then began to do was to then go to these companies and put money, invest in these companies. And the criteria or a requirement was that when your app was being built, it had to be Apple phone friendly. Then Android, Samsung realized, okay, if these guys are playing the game, we can also play better. They also start playing the same game, right? Then Apple realizes, okay, this is competition. We got to deal with the competition. You remember 2 days ago, I told you about competition. Yeah, competition is a fact of life. Don't get emotional about it. Learn how to outthink it. Apple think, what is the one thing we can do to ensure that we beat this competition? So what does Apple do? Apple begin to bring in other products so that before you realize it, your whole home is Apple dependent. Yeah. So then your watch is connected to your phone, that is connected to your iPad, that is connected to your TV, that is connected to God knows what, and your whole system is Apple.
My friend was looking at children, the TV, the plane sending the milk is coming.
Thank you. See, that's where we got to now. It's what we've got to now. See, adaptation. Yeah. Customer demand, emergent, competition, changing environment, adaptation. What do Android do? They realize, okay, Apple got the market cornered, but this is what we're going to do. Apple are charging a premium price. Yeah. We're going to give people similar convenience at a much lower price. So they come in at a lower price. They realize, okay, price is working. Now, this is what we're going to do. We're going to increase the ability for people to keep entertained with the Android package as opposed to the Apple package. So then they come out with the Android phone. Look, not too long ago, I think they bought an Android phone. The phone had 512 gigabyte memory in that bloody phone. 512 gig was what a PC had. They got it on a phone these days. Adaptability. So now they tell you that if you want to do work that requires high security, buy an iPhone. If you want to do stuff that involves entertainment, buy an Android. See, they're marking out their markets. People could have decided, oh, I'm so angry that Samsung is here, I'm going to sit in a corner and sulk. No, they didn't do that. What did Jobs do? I've got to outthink them. See, that's how you deal with competition. You outthink them. It's so scary. Look, I tell you one scary experience I had recently. In my home PC, my home work PC, I do lots of stuff there. Yeah. Now, when I have to go and deal with other people or go to other churches or something, I take a tablet along with me. I hardly use a tablet. Yeah. Take my tablet. I'm sat on the train. I'm heading out of London. I turn on my tablet and I let WhatsApp. The tablet told me that I hadn't turned off my home PC. So I had to call one of my wives and tell her, can you please go upstairs and turn off my PC for me? I'm sure she wondered how I even knew the PC was still on. The tablet on the train told me I hadn't turned off the home PC. It's just scary where this thing is going. But that's in the name of adaptability. The next thing they do, they focus on the USP. See, USP, unique selling point. Like I was saying, Apple is talking about security and work. Android is talking about entertainment and storage. See, even in a busy market, they establish a service that only they can deliver so well that they begin to be known with it. Look, there were a lot of, we used to call them internet search engines. Yeah, until Google came along. Now we don't talk about internet search, we say Google. When we want you to look for something on the internet, we say go and Google it. Isn't that what we say? Yeah. But we used to call them search engines. Google's cornered that market. Now the market is named after them. Unique selling point. What one thing can I do so well that nobody else can match? I told you, Onassis said, the secret to good business is knowing something nobody else does. That unique selling point. They always make sure they have it. The next thing they do, they manage finances effectively. I was giving an example of my friend who was demonstrating to people the impact of taking freebies from a shop and the impact it was having on his business. If you can't handle or manage finances and you've got the ideas, find somebody who can manage the finances, because unless you're managing those finances well enough, there's only one direction you're going. I don't care how good your business was. How many of us don't know in our childhood businesses that were big, huge, large businesses and whatever? Today, they don't exist. Significant percentage of the time, it was the poor financial management that took them down, nothing else. It wasn't that the ideas were not good. It wasn't that there wasn't a market for their product. It wasn't that people didn't need what they were selling. The finances were poor. Hello, darling. The next thing these businesses do, they have supportive cultures, they have strong teams. In my last master's degree course, the task they set us was to study the HR hiring processes of Apple. That's a task they gave us. Those guys are at a different level. The team they build, They ask for the best, and they make you understand that as you coming in, they're going to work you to the ground. If you can't take the heat, don't come in the goddamn kitchen. The culture is there. No one goes to work for Apple and expects an easy ride. You know what you're walking into. It's not a case of going in there and thinking, oh, I might be able to cut a few corners or I might be able to cut a few slacks. Don't go near Apple. Don't go near Silicon Valley. No. The culture is there. You see, the culture determines the behaviors people come into the organization with. And the culture is what will maintain those behaviors. But when you see a business succeed, they are managing the culture effectively. Final thing they do is they build a competitive advantage. When we talk about competitive advantages, a lot of the time people think of some huge, complex, wide-ranging set of issues. No, it's simply what can I do that my competitor cannot match? That's it. If I'm Amazon, I can get a package to your door in 3 hours. Who can match that? Ain't no one matching that. At least not for now. If some other delivery company matches the 3 hours, trust me, Amazon will deliver in 1 hour. Because that is their competitive advantage. They hold on to it with everything that matters. There was a time, long before new technologies and co came up, there was a pen we call the big pen. That's everyone remember the big pen. These days nobody writes anymore. So when you talk about pens, I mean everyone is typing on a keypad or something, whatever. So when you talk about pens, you seem to lose the mark. One of the modules we took, they had us write a written exam. The questions were not difficult. The problem was the writing. We hadn't written for so long, yeah, that sometimes you actually write and you ask yourself, can someone read that handwriting? But there was a time when writing was the way to go. And there was this company that made these pens, these big pens. The advantage they developed was that regardless wherever you were, a big pen would always write. Whether you're in a hot temperature or a cold one, a dusty place, whether the paper was good quality or the paper was poor quality, whatever. In fact, it became a point where in certain parts of Africa, the only pen worth selling was a big pen. You sell any other pen, nobody else will buy it. You're wasting your time. So other pens, more glorious pens, Parker pens, and no. Look, Big held the market like no one's business. The competitive advantage they had was the ability to keep functioning regardless the environment. Competitive advantage. Can I have the next slide, please? How am I doing for time? Oh, it's 5 o'clock. Whoa. Okay. So for lasting business outcomes, I want us to know these ones. You start your business with a plan. We spoke about a plan, didn't we, in the beginning? But plans always need to be reviewed. Very few plans are perfect the first time. Very few plans. My sister, where's my brother? He didn't come today. I'm sure you testify that when my brother wanted to win you, he didn't come with just one plan, did he? You've forgotten. That's a very safe answer. Very few plans are perfect the first time. You try one, she blocks you, you try another. See, it's funny, this Gen Z guys, I look at you, I tell you guys, you don't know what's going on. Now you have phones and text and whatever. Look, our days it was different. This was different. Look, you guys now, the girl can be in her father's house and you still be able to communicate with her because she's in her bedroom and she's got her phone and screen. Look, our days, we had to find creative ways of getting past some very, very serious obstacles. And we still succeeded. And we still succeeded. And we still succeeded. But it was changing the plan. You see, if when you went and rang the bell, you found out there were some big dogs in the house, next time you stand behind the wall and whistle. If your whistling attracts the same dog, then you actually make the girl understand, look, if you hear the dog bark for more than 5 minutes, it's me. Few plans are perfect the first time. You keep reviewing them, you keep improving them. You keep the goal, but you keep reviewing the plan. That's the thing every successful business does. Choose mentors and you choose them with care. I've always spoken about the importance of mentors. A mentor will save you a lot of pain because a mentor is someone who's walked the territory you're planning to walk, and often there's no need to reinvent the wheel. See, if I wanted to look as gorgeous as Natalie, yeah, I know she knows how to apply makeup. See, I'm not going to waste time and go to a makeup school. I'll let Natalie mentor me. See, she'll teach me how to do foundation, how to do lip liner, where to place the gloss. Charlie, don't joke with me. Who's a mentor? Someone's walked that territory. They've learned the tricks. They've paid the price. Learn from them so you don't have to necessarily start from the beginning. A mentor gives you a huge jump in your progress because they know the territory. Just choose them with care, because not every mentor is a good mentor. Some mentors don't want you to succeed, but you choose them with care. But a mentor gives you a huge advantage because it saves you pain. Next thing, you consider the partnerships or the investors. You see, the way I spoke about partnership yesterday, I spoke about investors. The one problem our black people have, which makes them fear partnerships, is that they don't understand how to structure a partnership. They don't understand how to put in the legal requirements of putting partnerships together. So for them, partnership is by word of mouth or gentlemen's agreements or agreements made in kitchens or around dining tables. And the next thing you know, there's a confusion, there's a little friction, there's no structure about how to handle the friction, and it falls apart. So black people tell you partnerships doesn't work. I tell them you're just misleading yourself. All the successful businesses you see out there, the partnerships behind them, you learn from them. Put the proper structures in place and a partnership will take you far. Because you rarely come across somebody who, as an individual, have everything that is required to succeed. Sometimes you need a helping hand. You need that elbow to lean on. Choose a partnership, but just structure the partnership. Am I talking to someone? I said about reputation, and reputation, like I say, is absolutely key. But as a business, word of mouth is your best advert, especially if you're a small, medium-sized business. Word of mouth. Yeah? Word of mouth. Someone comes and says, I've got a toothache. I tell them, oh, I knew a dentist. She pulled out one tooth and I didn't feel anything afterwards. Because they know me and I told them about you. They will come to you. See that word of mouth? And it goes the other way. If I pull out your tooth and for 1 week your whole head is banging like a drum, that is exactly what you are going to say about me. So then the person hears you and the person will not come back to you. See, word of mouth. Keep the customer happy. They'll bring you more. And they tell you that it is easier to retain an existing customer than to win a new one. But this is where word of mouth comes in. See, people that testify, people that carry, oh, where did you get this shoe from? It's from Amazon. Next thing you know, I'm on the Amazon website. Amazon didn't advertise to me. Someone told me about them. Competition, like I said, it will always exist. Yeah? Either in opposition, in contention, but competition is a fact of life. Anything you want to acquire or win or achieve that is of any value, trust me, you are not the only person seeing that value. Somebody else is. And currently, where we are, this road of life is full of traffic. There's no point being upset about it. You accept that condition and learn how to make progress in spite of it. But competition, you cannot avoid. So this belief Christians have that if God calls you into some role or into some process or some journey, everything will be smooth and all the doors ahead of you are open. I say, even if the door is open, you still have to walk through it. And when you walk through the door, you find other people behind the door. Competition will always exist. Learn to deal with it. Finally, recharge regularly. Look, burnout is real. Burnout is real. Recently, in the month of February, I didn't realize how stressed I was till I had to go to Ghana and I had this opportunity of doing early morning walks. Just the effect of that early morning walk. It was so different. I felt so different. I didn't realize how stressed I was. Burnout is real and it doesn't happen in a second. It creeps on you gradually. But like I said before, even Jesus had to take time out. Next slide, please. How am I doing for time? Not bad, are we? Right. Now, artificial intelligence. We cannot ignore AI in today's world. AI is here and it ain't going nowhere. The earlier we get to grips with it, the better. Because we cannot ignore AI. Any career, any field of endeavor, it's got AI knocking at the door. You cannot ignore AI. So let's talk a bit about AI. Now, the first thing I want you to understand with all the passion I can communicate is this: AI is not demonic. Please, there is nothing demonic about AI. Don't buy into this thing. This thing, anything comes up new that Christians don't understand, they say it is demonic. AI is not demonic. I want to remind us about the 5G debate. I'm not going to mention names, but when 5G was coming up, people said 5G was evil. Because 5G was coming around the same time COVID was coming. People were making all kinds of connection between 5G and COVID. And on one occasion, one noted international man of God, international minister, he mounted his pulpit, put a screen down, and showed people connections between ancient Babylon and some demon spirit and something, and how it had merged into a 5G, and how 5G was going to be the power behind 666 and the Antichrist coming. He broke the whole thing down. The last time I saw a video of this man of God, he was holding an iPad. What's like? And interestingly, that sermon, yeah, he flew to another country to repeat that same sermon. Now, when he flew in the plane, they said he sat in business class. And he was emailing his people about his intending arrival and everything. What he didn't realize was that he was using the same 5G he was going to preach again. Dang. There is nothing demonic about AI. Nothing. People are so scared about 5G in this country. They began to set fire to, in London, look, in East London, they were setting fire to the 5G masts. When 5G masts were installed, they were setting fire to them. That's how scared people were. Today, those same people are walking around with smart devices, and all those devices are going over 5G. I tell you. Yeah. Okay. Same with 5G. 5G is not demonic. AI is not demonic. No. And it is here and it is not going anywhere. So take your head out of that spiritual fear they like to put in you and get to grips with it. The sooner the better. Because with AI, it's like a double-edged sword. Yeah, it is making some jobs unnecessary, but at the same time, it is creating opportunities. It's like a double-edged sword. You want to be on the opportunity side of the sword, not on the side that gets disqualified because of AI. Because I tell people, you will not necessarily lose your job to AI. You lose your job to someone who knows how to use AI. Told you I've joined the board of another national charity, and people wonder, how are you able to stay on top of these things? You send me a list of board papers that are sometimes 250 pages long. I put it into my AI. It will summarize the whole thing for me. By the time I've done my bus journey and got to the meeting, I know exactly what I'm going to talk about. If you refuse to use AI, you have to find time in your week to read those 250 papers. I'm 10 steps ahead of you. 10 steps ahead of you, and it's AI. If there's one thing I'll encourage you to do, get to grips with AI. The time you spend browsing on your TikTok and whatever, I'm not saying stop TikTok. I know you spend 4 or 5 hours of your day on TikTok. Take 2 hours out of that one. Do AI with those 2 hours. Do the TikTok with the other ones. Because trust me, that AI will take you further. It's here. It's not going anywhere. No, it's not an option. And the people with AI fluency, they are the ones going to get the best opportunities going forwards. The same as when this internet business started. Some people resisted it. Today they regret it. Same with AI. It's not going anywhere. Am I talking to someone? Give me the next slide, please. Look, as damaging as AI is to certain industries, right? There are certain markets, certain human skill areas where AI still cannot compete yet. See, this is where AI finds its strength. If it's a standard, repetitive, structured job, AI is there. Yeah? A to B to C, A to B to C, AI will do it. So jobs like the admin jobs, jobs like the secretarial jobs, jobs like the front level jobs, the lower level jobs, they are falling away because AI is replacing them. Yeah, they are structured, they are repetitive, and they follow clear set of instructions. AI is able to do that, but there are certain areas of marketable skill that AI still cannot compete with. See, fields that require emotional intelligence, fields that require creative vision, fields that need physical dexterity, fields that need ethical judgment. Because as good as a robot is, it will never replace a human being. So the thing to do in looking forwards is to begin to think about where you can build your strength, where AI doesn't weaken you, particularly you, my Gen Z people, the direction in which you're going. Think about which directions you can go in where AI will not weaken you. Some of us are fortunate. We might be out of the system before AI becomes a big problem. But you guys are not coming into the system. And like it or not, AI is here with you. Is someone hearing me? I took a look. I did some reading. I did some research. I found some fields in which AI is still not dominant because they require the 4 things I listed in the beginning. See, when it comes to healthcare and therapy, AI hasn't got there yet. I doubt he ever will. You remember I told you people that the explosion in technology is creating opportunities. This might sound very cynical, but so many people are absorbing nonsense from social media. They are building themselves all kinds of problems, mental problems, emotional problems. And now if you look, therapy is big business. Therapy is big business. Everywhere you see somebody is a therapist for this. They've got so many therapies right now. They've even got therapy for toes. You know what the lady's therapy is supposed to do? She said that by watching the movement of people's toes when they are sat, you can tell whether they are in a stressed out state or not. So they give you a gadget, yeah, and as you are playing with the gadget, they are watching your toes and see how your toes are moving, and that tells them how stressed you are. All kinds of therapies are coming up because the use of technology is so rampant now that people are losing human skill. They are losing constructive skills. They are losing emotional intelligence, and it's frustrating them. And as they get frustrated, they get depressed. As they get depressed, they form all kinds of traumas, and then therapy then comes and addresses all those traumas. So now there are so many therapists online, you don't even know what to do with them. But that is a field AI hasn't taken over yet. Next field, education. See, AI can present information. AI can condense information. AI cannot absorb it for you. See? So in the field of education, there are still opportunities emerging. Skilled tradespeople, as good as AI is, AI cannot fix a leaking pipe. AI cannot wire your house. AI cannot replace your fuse. If your radiator is not working, AI cannot do it for you. AI could tell you the steps to take, but you still need to do the work needs to be done. AI cannot mow your garden for you, keep your lawn clean. Skilled trades are still proving AI resilient. So please, my parents, when your son comes home and tells you he wants to go into a career as a plumber, don't resist him. Because I tell you, in some 10 years, you find out it was a very wise decision he made. Because when your daughter, who wanted to be a secretary with a nice long nails to go and be tapping keyboards, is now at home frustrated because they can't find a job, your plumber son, man, go and keep working. Right now, they've got what do you call that thing now? Voice to text, whatever. You take a device, you speak into the device, and it's typing your words for you. Yeah. It's typing your words for you. So now I'm in a meeting and they show me press this button and press that button, and then it says something about the meeting being recorded. Yeah. After the meeting, everything that is said in the meeting, the system will transcribe it. And from the transcription, I then edit and I have the minutes of my meeting like that. So I serve 4 committees without a PA because I got AI. So someone who went and studied to be a PA or a secretary, hello, you're going to be in trouble because it won't take long before I replace you. We have this package, this AI thing now. When you're traveling to a city, it will source the plane ticket, source accommodation, and then run your schedule for you. And because Uber exists now, it will arrange the Uber from where it picks you up. Like literally all you have to do is to pack your bag and get on the train. That's all you have to do. Every step is taken care of for you. So if your dream is to be a PA, let's think carefully. Unless you can bring something to the PA market that AI hasn't seen. But it's careers like that are at risk. Am I talking to someone? Another field. High-level legal professionals. Do I have any lawyers in the house? They're not here today. High-level legal professionals. You see, as good as AI is, it hasn't reached the upper echelons of the legal profession. Still a good place to target. Same with finance. High-level finance places. Same with cybersecurity. Same with some of these creative industries. You see, this is a funny thing. The programming of AI itself is an industry that is emerging. See, AI is taking over certain jobs, but the programming of AI itself is a huge emergent industry. So where they used to have computer programmers going into all kinds of things, now they're all heading towards AI. And it's so funny now. They are building such powerful packages now that if you go online, you're looking to buy RAM, you can't find RAM anywhere. The AI market is just absorbing the RAM like that. Has anyone tried to build a computer recently? You're surprised how difficult it is to find DDR5 RAM. It's not there. They are pushing the market towards these AI people. But the programming of AI itself is a huge emergent industry. Can I have the next slide, please? So what are we going to do with this AI problem? Once we know it's not demonic and we know it's something we need to get to grips with, what are we going to do with this AI challenge? So first thing we need to do, teach and develop the skill areas that appear AI resistant. If you come to me now these days asking me for career advice, these are the areas I'll be pointing you in, these AI resistant ideas, because I know within the next 10 years, AI is going to get to a stage where it's the this AI resistant careers that will survive. See, it's very interesting. My first Sheffield girlfriend, the lady that left, I haven't seen her in a very long time. But the last time I went to visit her, I met her daughter, and we're having a talk about careers, right? The daughter was talking about what choice of careers. When she saw me today, her first statement was she wanted to tell me how well her daughter was doing. I forgot the conversation I had with her. I've forgotten the conversation. But the field the girl is in now is as a result of the conversation I had with her all those years back. And it's an AI resistant field. So, as far back as then, I saw the alarm bells ringing. So, what I told her was that I'm sure within the next 15 years, this other profession you're considering, it will not exist because it will be mechanized. Rather, go down this way because in the next 15 years, technology will not get there. It's exactly what's happened. And we need to teach and develop these AI resistant skills because that is where the future opportunities will be. Am I talking to someone? So we begin to encourage the use of AI tools. Yeah, let's explore look, any skill you have can be enhanced by AI. My daughters, mommy says, go to the supermarket because we need to cook some dinner this evening, blah, blah, blah. And you don't even know what has to go into that dinner. Put that question in ChatGPT, you'll be surprised the answer you get. It'll tell you exactly what to get and sometimes tell you where to get it. You'll be surprised the answers you get. But let's learn to begin to use AI in our daily tasks. Because that's how we get used. That's how we get good at things. I mean, practicing, using them. Yeah? And teach the old folks. Yeah? I know some of them are still technology resistant. But teach them. Teach them. Yeah? Look, the little they learn. Because they're in fields that are being attacked by AI. Teach them that skill. Teach them how to use it. Yeah? It's funny. When we got Alexa, one of my wives got an Alexa box for my boys as a gift, and we put it in the hall. Yeah, and that time my beloved grandma was. I told grandma, you see this box, it can do anything. Hey, if you want music, it can play music for you. I said, yeah. I said, yeah, it can play music for you. Oh, okay. Then let's listen to some gospel music then. Okay. So I stood there. Alexa. Nothing happened. Alexa. Nothing happened. Alexa. Nothing happened. Say, oh, this box cannot disgrace me like that. I call my younger son. And he comes down there. I said, look, we want to play some gospel music. Tell Alexa to give us that gospel music. He stands there with his British accent. Alexa, bing.
It's happening now.
I've learned to adapt my accent when I'm talking to Alexa. See, these are the kind of things we need you, the younger ones, to help us with. I don't know. I'm sure along the line they'll build it to recognize universal accents. And it's funny. My Nigerian friends, they have it worse because their accent is a different kettle of fish. One of my friends, he said, Alexa, play me the gospel song. For everything he says, Alexa will give him something else. Because he say one thing, Alexa is hearing something else. I'm sure the time will come when Alexa will pick up her assets. But look, this is where the older generation need your help. See, you're home with them. You've got the skill. You know how to make it work. Teach them. Because it won't be too long before in every field they are in, there's some form of AI technology there. Everywhere from opening security doors to giving, what do you call them? Giving reports. Right now, instead of the old days when we sit down and write reports by hand, now they give you a dictaphone. You're supposed to talk into the dictaphone. Use OCR to translate your voice into text. Now, if instead of God, you say God, and instead of Dawn, you say Dan, and whatever. What it hears is what it's going to print, and you just be going through frustration after frustration after frustration. But teach this older generation these skills because they are the ones most at risk. But look at career prospects in these AI resistant areas. Let's look for business opportunities in those same areas as well. Look where AI can enhance an existing business. Look where AI can create a new opportunity because that is where the world is going. Stop mentally resisting it. Learn to use it because it's not going anywhere. Next slide, please. But that final slide, essentially, it's us summarizing everything we've shared this evening, right? One thing I'd like to leave with you is this. Any field of endeavor you choose requires some effort, requires some investment. Please make the time and effort to put in what is required to succeed in that skill. Like I said earlier, there's competition everywhere. Excellence will cost you what mediocrity will save you. If you want to succeed, if you want to be excellent, put in the effort. Learn what it means to succeed in that field and put the effort in that direction. Because trust me, that is exactly what your competition is doing. Second thing I want to leave with you is transform your belief system. A lot of the time, what hinders us is not our inability, it's our belief. See, we think it's demonic. We think it's problematic. Sometimes we think we simply cannot succeed because somebody that we know and trust and respect has told us some lie. When I did the seminar with the youth, I remember sharing this example of a friend I met at the time who had lost his job and was worried that he was too old to start anything given the time at which he'd lost his job. I'd met up with him and we were sat in a KFC. And that's when he was talking to me like this. And then the question I asked him is, where are we sat? He said, oh, this is a KFC now. I said, do you know how old Colonel Sanders was when he started KFC? The man looked me in the face, walked off. He's running a business now. See, he believed some lie. Your belief system has more of an effect on you than anything else around you. Because what you believe is what you manifest. Jesus repeatedly told his disciples and the people around him, he said, only believe. Only believe. Only believe. Transform your belief system. You cannot produce results that are contrary to your belief system. If you want to succeed, build a belief system that supports that success. You cannot 1 minute believe yourself to be a failure in a field and then expect to excel. It won't happen. Transform that belief system. Be ye transformed by the renewal of your minds. It's in that Bible you hold. Am I talking to someone? Information, knowledge is critical. See, they tell you knowledge is power. If I know what you don't know, I've got an edge on you. It's that simple. If I know what you don't know, I've got the advantage. Any field of success will require some knowledge. I told you about my brother who learned about scrap and kept learning about scrap. I told you about my brother who started from cleaning and now he's got his own company. Look, any field will require knowledge, information. Learn it. Be intentional about your reference group. Every day of this seminar, I've spoken about the importance of the reference group. See that group of people around you, the people you regularly chat with, the people you share ideas with, the people whose advice impacts you the most, the people you like to mingle with the most. You choose them with care. You choose them with care. Because if I want to rise as high as an eagle, I won't take advice from a chicken. They don't know crap. I almost use the F word. They don't know crap. That reference group is absolutely key. See, when we tell you that they have all these sayings, what? Put them together around thee that headeth where thou willeth. Shakespeare wrote that thing. Look, every major philosopher has emphasized on the importance of the reference group. It has more of an impact on you than you believe. A lot of them are even things we're not aware of. But just ask yourself, whose advice am I willing to follow? Whose guidance am I willing to listen to? Whose talk am I willing to hear? So let's be realistic as well. And let's always make healthy comparisons. Look, it's human nature to compare, right? But you've got to do that with a harsh reality. There'll always be greater or lesser than yourself. That is the fact of life. It's the fact of life. That's how God made it. Honest. See, when you see, it's funny. This morning, I was just flipping through the Bible, and I got to this point where they were showing the genealogies, yeah? And they'll say, Adam had many other sons and daughters, and then they'll mention one, Seth. Then they'll say Seth had many other sons and daughters, and then they'll mention one. And then they'll say Enosh had many other sons and daughters, and then they'll mention one. Other people existed, but only few people were worth mention. It doesn't mean the other people who existed were useless. No, they all had their own little successes. They all had their little progresses. But that is a fact of life. Not every one of us is meant to be a superstar. But as much as you possibly can, maximize your potential. Just be realistic. Sometimes there's no point envying certain people. They are simply more gifted than you are. Point blank period. You're wasting your time. A chicken sat on a fence cannot envy the eagle soaring in the sky. You are biologically different. You just can't match them. But if you study the eagle long enough, you rule that hen coop you are in. See, that's what you want to do. You want to maximize your potential. The highest you can get is the top of the fence. But from there, you maximize that potential. You rule from there. There'll always be greater or lesser than yourself. It's just a harsh reality of life. Finally, I want to wish you all the best of luck. And you see, I put luck in inverted commas. Let's see how I'm doing for time. Let's talk about luck. I want to wish you the best of luck. But finally, one thing I've learned about luck is that luck only happens when prepared people come across opportunities. That is when what we call luck happens. Two biblical examples and I close. Joseph in the Bible, when he was young, he found he had a gift a gift to see through the power of dreams what was about to happen in the future, a gift of foresight through the power of dreams. That gift put him in trouble with his brothers. He had his father concerned. The father just noted the gift, but he had his brothers envious. That gift put him in trouble with his brothers, got him sold into slavery. Whilst he was in slavery, that gift kept him safe. That gift took him from being in the prison to becoming the equivalent of a prime minister. That gift. For a gift to keep on giving, it needs maintenance. That's a part of the biblical narrative most of us don't even think about. But for that gift to have remained consistent, Joseph was maintaining that gift. It didn't just happen. He maintained that gift. Now, for those that saw Joseph among his brothers as a child, and then came to Egypt and saw him as a prime minister, to them, Joseph was lucky, because Pharaoh had a dream and Joseph happened to interpret it. So he was lucky. No. The maintenance of his gift put him in the situation where he was able to exploit the opportunity when he presented. They talk about luck. I see preparation. David, in the Bible, David was an illegitimate child. It's funny when I say this, people, but look, he wasn't considered a son by his own father. When what's his name? Someone turned up there wanting to anoint a king and told Jesse to go and bring his sons. Someone had to ask Jesse, are these all your sons? Before they remembered somebody somewhere taking care of sheep. Those days, it was a job of servants and slaves to tend to livestock. The sons stayed in the house. That is why when Jesse was asked about his sons, he brought the ones from his household. This one was a result of some 360 he caught with some last hour. Produce that one. Now he was out there. But whilst he was out there, the boy prepared himself. He only had the one skill. You see, it's sad. They took him out to take care of livestock and they didn't even arm him with a spear or a sword. All they gave him was a sling. Whether the sling was given to him or even he got it himself, it's another question altogether. But those days, if you sent your slaves out to take care of your life, you knew the wild animals were there. You armed them with weapons. Look, I won't be surprised if Jesse was half hoping some lion would kill that bastard and get him out of his way, because he was a problem for the man. All he had was a sling. But that sling he learned to use extremely well. So when Goliath turned up and began to threaten the armies of the Lord, and Saul said, anyone that kills this giant will marry my daughter, David saw opportunity. See, the good thing about a sling is that it allows you to hit a target from far. You don't have to get close to it. It doesn't matter how big the giant is. If I can stay long away enough from the giant, I could be able to harm the giant without getting close to the giant. It was that skill with the sling that made David a son-in-law to the king and eventually king. So those who would have known David in his days of tending sheep would have seen him as a king and thought he got lucky. He didn't. Luck happens when preparation meets opportunity. So I wish you the best of luck. And in so doing, I wish you the discipline to hear the voice of preparation and adhere to it. Because the preparation you make for yourself determines what outcome you'll have when opportunity presents. I wish you luck. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed our Grace Impact conference. Make sure to join us again tomorrow and receive what the Lord has in store for you.